It's really a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank Dr. Volta for inviting me to join you and to the World Water Organization for establishing this forum. Before I share with you my remarks, I also want to say that it is truly a pleasure to be on the stage here with a colleague and supporter of the work of my organization, Michael Balboni. I will speak to you today from my point of view about how we are not yet ready, and certainly what I believe we need to do as our organization, the Red Cross, but more importantly, what we need to be doing together across all of the organizations that are represented in this room and beyond. I have a particular fondness for Mike Balboni because our organization, although primarily private funded, was able to receive support thanks to then Senator Balboni, head of Homeland Security for New York State in the Senate, who provided my organization with resources to help us both prepare our community and build our capacity here in the New York metropolitan area for the disasters that unfortunately we all know are likely to be in our future. So I get this opportunity to say thank you to him once again. Certainly, as I think about our organization, we are certainly at a crucial point around the globe and certainly here locally in terms of the work of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. Our first fundamental principle is humanity, and that principle mandates us to prevent and alleviate human suffering wherever it may be found. And the American Red Cross, our purpose is to reduce human suffering both in our country and around the world through our efforts in preparing, preventing, and responding to disasters. And so we cover all of the range of requirements for us to be able to deal with the things that are likely to be in our future. When I think about our efforts in prevention, it is true that we do a lot on prevention, but in the areas that you're covering today, and certainly water security, we are a secondary player, and we are the recipients of the good work that many of the organizations involved today are doing. We hope that your efforts will enable us to do everything we can to prevent disasters, but we also know that it's our responsibility to prepare for and then to be ready to respond when unfortunately things in fact do happen. When we look to that prevention, it isn't surprising that we once again look to the partnership of the not-for-profit organizations, humanitarian organizations such as the Red Cross or UNICEF, but also to our corporate partners and to government partners with whom we really can't accomplish what we need to. So what I would like to really focus on is, from our point of view, our lessons learned relating to preparedness, both of ourselves and of our communities, and then the impact that that actually has on response and the engagement that we need to have with all of you. And our hope is that this session is the beginning of something and not an end in itself. Again, I start with my point of view that we are not ready, and I suspect that will be repeated by some of the other panelists. As I think about the lessons learned and talk about some of the experiences we've had, and certainly that I personally had, both in this country and in our city, we are more prepared than we were, but we are not at a point where we can rest comfortably and say that we are ready. So what are our views on the issue of preparedness? Our two areas of focus are preparing our communities and preparing ourselves. As we look to our communities, I think among the things that we have learned in the years that have passed is that certainly government alone, and even government and corporations, cannot adequately prepare for all that will happen to us, that we require a civic engagement so that all of us, all of the citizens of our countries, are actually doing the part that they must do, that they can do in getting themselves prepared so that the work of government and others can then complement those efforts. And so certainly for us, we focus on issues of having people have the materials that they need in their hands when they need to evacuate or when they need to shelter in place. And I'll speak a little bit later about some experiences we've had in both of those situations. We also need people to think about what their plans are for evacuating, and very importantly, to understand how it is that they're going to be informed when disaster does strike. Informed about whether to stay or to go, informed about what is safe and what is not, informed about who will be telling them that important information, how do they receive that. And as we look to ourselves to prepare, in addition to having our communities prepare, we as the Red Cross also need to be prepared through our own capacity building. And following up on our own experiences with 9/11, the London Red Cross experience, the Madrid Red Cross experience with their bombings, we brought together an international symposium about a year ago. We're actually having the second session in London in April, and we identified for our part that there were fundamental things that we needed in order to do better than we had been able to do in those previous experiences. And they really related to volunteer engagement. We are a volunteer-based organization, and we must have members of our community volunteer be trained if we are in fact going to be able to respond. We must have the materials that we need and in order to respond, whether that's cots, blankets, meals, bottles of water, all of the things that are necessary for us to do our work. We must have partnerships with corporations, with government, with other not-for-profit organizations, and we must do planning together. And again, one of the reasons why I think it's great if this is the beginning of a conversation and not the end is that we still have much planning to be doing together if we want to truly be able to say that we are ready. I think it's been very interesting as I read some of the material getting ready for today, the focus of water security as we think about preparing both our community and ourselves. What we know is that it almost doesn't matter what direction you're coming at, what disaster you're worrying about, whether it's terrorism, whether it's other man-made event, whether it's a natural disaster. And in fact, our International Federation recently published this Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Guide, which really focuses on mitigation, preparedness, the work that's going on all around the world to take steps to be better prepared for the things that may occur.